In my last video, we looked at some common misconceptions about freelance design work in the surface pattern industry, as well as what a typical day of freelancing looks like for me. In this video, I'm sharing my top tips if you think freelance surface design is for you. All right, so you want to become a freelancer, you've reached out, you've maybe watched my workshop, you've potentially gotten a few clients. Let's talk about some tips to keep in mind. The first one is to be flexible, but define your boundaries. As I've gotten more experienced, I've had to put more boundaries in place around my work. I no longer, usually, unless it's like a client that I've worked with regularly, if it's a new client, I'm definitely not agreeing to 1 to 2 day turnarounds, deadlines. I don't want to be rushed in that way. This is something, as I told you earlier in this video, this is something that happens a lot. And yeah, when I first started, I was like, yes, I can do this. Let's do it. I'm excited to do the work. But these days, I try to avoid that type of stuff. Obviously, I've needed to increase my prices. I know you've seen my video on increasing your prices. If you have not, check it out. But certainly, since I've been doing this for 11 years, I've been pushing my prices up. I've turned down opportunities that sound okay, but just not what, there are certain things that, turn me off to the job. I don't say yes to everything. But as you get started, you do need to understand that you don't always know what a really great client is going to be until you start working with them. You don't always know what some of those red flags are. You're not always sure how long a project is going to take you, so what pricing is going to work. You have to do some experimentation and you have to be flexible. I don't like the advice that you should only accept a certain amount of money for a job. You should never do something that has a really quick turnaround. You should definitely turn away from these various red flags. I mean, you have to have some things in order, but I think it's important to experiment and make some of those mistakes yourself. I remember one of my first clients, my first really long-term clients, I had been approaching them and reaching out to them for a year and a half, and I've been wanting to work with them so badly. And when they finally turned around and said, hey, can you do this project? It was like a 4-day deadline, and I was about to head out on vacation to my in-laws house. So it was a vacation, but it was still, it wasn't like I was going to a tropical island or something. But I wasn't planning to work that week. But it was this client that I had been looking forward to and so interested in working with. And if I had said no, because I'm on vacation and, I got to set work-life balance, I probably wouldn't have ended up working with that client on such a regular basis. And I worked with them for 5 years. They were one of my biggest clients. So, sometimes when we're getting started, we do have to make some of those sacrifices. And I think that's important. But especially as you grow, starting to figure out what those hard lines are and what you can be more flexible about is a really important part of the growing process as a freelancer. Next tip for being a freelancer: have a contract ready. I know I said be flexible, but we're not going to be stupid about things. We need to have contracts in place to protect ourselves, all right? Sometimes companies have their own contracts that you can sign, but it's important to have your contracts ready in case they don't, whether it be project-based fees or hourly fees. You want to have your sort of service agreement ready. Now, this is something that I offer to start your surface pattern business students. I include with that class a First Clients Foundation kit, which has lawyer-approved contracts for licensing and for freelance and for some other situations you might get yourself into. And these contracts have been so invaluable to my students. Obviously, I use them for myself. And so this is something that's important to have. For the first time, I'm offering these contract templates for sale separately. So if you are needing some contracts, definitely check out the link in my description. It's very important to have contracts. So if you don't have one available, I'm happy to help out with the templates that I have. Next tip, ask questions. You are allowed to ask questions. Your art director, you don't have to feel like you have to figure everything out yourself in like a little hole, all right? Your art director, whoever you're working with, understands the product, understands what they're looking for, and it's important for you to understand the same thing in order to create some artwork that they're going to be happy with. You want to be able to do the best job possible. And so in order to do that, sometimes you have to ask some questions, ask about templates, offer to get on a call to make it really easy so they don't have to type out all the information. Say, hey, we can just hop on a quick phone call. I know we don't always love to get on the phone, but sometimes it's the easiest way to get the information across. Ask for examples of previous projects, files that they might have so that you can look at the files and sort of match the same like naming system or whatever it is. Ask questions. It's okay. They want you to succeed as well. So that is an important part of the freelance ecosystem. Finally, expect revisions. It's not personal. So don't expect to be able to create exactly what they were looking for right out of the gate. They are going to have feedback, whether it's let's take this in a slightly different direction, let's change these colors, let's move this to that, can we make this part bigger, whatever it is. Don't take it personal. Don't feel like you failed. Just think of what you're showing them as a first draft. You're showing them a first draft and they can move on and make adjustments to make it what they need for their product. You are trying to help them create the best product possible. So it's not about your art and what you did. It's about creating something that everyone's happy with. So take those notes with a smile and, move on. Don't take it personally. All right, so that was a lot of information about freelancing. I hope that was helpful to you. If you're interested in some more information, I have a couple live that I have done related to freelance that you should definitely check out. I have an Ask Me Anything about freelance where we got into a lot of questions that people have. And by the way, if we didn't address one of your questions, leave it in the comments below. And also I have a behind the scenes where I talk about some of the products that I've done for freelance clients and what that really looks like behind the scenes. So if you are curious about freelance work, I've got resources for you. And speaking of resources, if you haven't checked out the Ready for Surface Pattern Clients workshop, I really encourage you to check out the link in the description and register for the waitlist for the next time I offer it live, because it gives you some really important step-by-step tips to finding freelance clients. I am wishing you the best of luck as you pursue surface pattern design freelance work.